Good morning. You're listening to Senior Scene on your hometown station, 1430 WNAV. I'm Joshua Killian, social media producer for the Anne Arundel County Department of Age and Disabilities, and today my guest is Jim Krempel, Community Outreach Coordinator for the Anne Arundel County Office of Emergency Management. Welcome back to Senior Scene, Jim.
Thank you for inviting me, Josh.
Jim, we're now in winter and the holiday season. Very cold temperatures with snow or ice could happen at any time. Could you remind our listeners how they can better prepare themselves for this kind of weather?
Well, first, everyone should keep up with rapidly changing weather conditions by staying tuned to radio, like WNAV, TV, weather sources like the National Weather Service, and of course, social media. Then, as you make emergency or travel plans, assess your own situation. You can receive emergency alerts such as winter storms by subscribing to Alert Anne Arundel, the county's emergency mass notification system. Subscribe to this free service online at our OEM website shown here, or call our office at 410-222-0600 to subscribe by phone. Now, if a listener is living alone, we would suggest they consider planning to temporarily stay with a family member, close friend, or a trusted neighbor during extreme cold and winter storms. Or make sure you have a support network that checks in on you regularly. There is safety in numbers. 2 or more people sheltering in place together can support one another and share resources. This is especially true of older adults with chronic illness, disabilities, or living in a dwelling with limited heating.
So, what kind of hazards can our listeners expect for this season?
Well, winter can bring extremely cold temperatures, wind and wind chill, snow, slippery sidewalks, and icy roads. During a major winter storm, they may happen in combination and cause what we call cascading effects, like downed trees, power outages, and blocked roads, hampering emergency responders. So plan for winter storms now by having a family emergency kit with basic supplies to shelter in place for at least 3 days. That's the longest reasonable time to expect road clearing after a major snowstorm. Remember, winter weather can be especially dangerous for older adults, so we recommend avoiding prolonged exposure to cold temperatures, walk in pairs for safety, and take extra clothing with you to be careful and warm, and be careful also with icy steps and sidewalks. Do not shovel snow if you have a chronic illness, especially a cardiac condition. Drink plenty of water, but avoid nicotine, caffeine, and alcohol, which cause dehydration.
What are some of the medical dangers of very cold temperatures?
Well, whether inside or outside, really cold weather can be dangerous to those who are not properly prepared to handle it. Children, older adults, and people with poor circulation systems are particularly at risk for cold weather injuries like hypothermia or frostbite. Now, advanced hypothermia is a life-threatening condition as it decreases core body temperature to the point your internal organs are at risk. So watch for, as this slide shows, confusion, excessive shivering, slurred speech, sleepiness, or changes in level of consciousness or motor coordination. If someone exposed to cold weather for an extended period showed these symptoms, it may be time to call 911 for a medical emergency. Frostbite is the freezing of skin, which can make the skin very cold, red, and numb. While not as serious as hypothermia, left unchecked, it can cause permanent damage to the skin of the face, fingers, and toes. Rewarm the exposed skin slowly and seek medical attention if needed. If someone has recurring medical treatments like dialysis, for example, they should contact their clinic well in advance of a storm for guidance. Likewise, if somebody relies on oxygen, they should contact their supplier in advance to have extra bottles on hand. And people needing life-sustaining electrically powered medical equipment should have a working generator or plan to move to a location with sustainable power well before the storm arrives.
Well, Jim, how can our listeners dress for the outdoors to better prepare themselves for the cold?
Well, dress in 2 to 3 layers to help trap body heat to stay warmer for longer. This also gives flexibility to remove layers when you're more active. There you can still stay warm. Prepare for the unexpected. Most hypothermia cases occur due to an unexpected change in the weather or temperature, so keep extra gloves, hats, and a coat on hand, and keep an emergency blanket in your car. Wear fleece and a warm hat when going outside. Up to 50% of body heat is lost through the head and torso. Wear waterproof boots or shoes to keep your feet dry, but don't let thick socks or tight boots cut off circulation to your feet. Avoid getting wet when the temperatures drop, especially if windy. This is an invitation for hypothermia. And remember that icy steps and sidewalks may not look slippery, but can cause unexpected falls and injuries.
Well, that is good advice. And what about people who do not have access to a warm home?
Well, as we said earlier, try and plan ahead to move into a warm place with family or friends well before the deep cold arrives. The county will open warming centers if the temperature dips below 32 degrees. The locations and specific hours are announced through broadcast and social media and can be found as shown here at www.aacounty.org/WARM. When opened, warming centers include county libraries and our senior activity centers, both open primarily during daylight hours Monday through Friday. Our 4-county police district station has community rooms, which are open overnight, including weekends during cold weather emergencies. All warming centers are disability accessible and have water and restroom facilities, but these are not shelters. So food, bedding, and medical care is not available. Anyone experiencing and observing a medical emergency should call 911. Children must be accompanied by adults at all times. Pets are not allowed in any warming centers, but accommodations can be made for service animals. If someone cannot get to a warming center or is experiencing homelessness, they should call the Crisis Response Warm Line at 410-768-5522.
Well, Jim, thank you so much for coming on the show today and giving our listeners some good tips on preparing for cold winter weather. Your office offers a lot of practical information on how to be ready for any emergencies. How do our listeners learn more?
Well, it's always my pleasure, Josh. Remember to prepare for any emergency, stay informed, make a plan, build an emergency kit, and then get involved. Listeners may visit our website at www.aacounty.org/OEM for more information. They can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Nextdoor, and YouTube. Any community group, civic association, or house of worship can request an in-person or virtual emergency preparedness presentation by visiting our website or emailing oemoutreach@aacounty.org or call our office at 410-222-0600.
If you have any questions about any of our programs or services, you can always call the Department of Age and Disabilities at 410-222-4257, or you can visit us online. Please remember to follow us on Facebook as well. This is Joshua Killian, social media producer with the Anne Arundel County Department of Age and Disabilities, and you've been listening to Senior Scene on your hometown station, 1430 WNAV.